Today I'm going to tear apart the Seicane portable head unit to see how cheap it is. And if I get 100,000 views, I will do the same to this Carpuride W903 to see if they cut any corners just like the Seicane radio. So first things first, I wanted to get rid of this mount. And this is the only radio I have came across that the mount is physically bolted onto the unit. So 3 screws out and we can remove that mount. And this mount is probably the highest quality thing on this unit. I got my trusty heat gun to try to remove the screen, which turned out to be not the best idea, but I did it anyways. I then squared the edges with my box knife and try to peel it up that way, which proved to be very difficult as the screen broke. Sorry I didn't show you guys. However, on the positive side, the screen is pretty scratch resistant. It shows some very light scratches on the screen. Obviously the LCD panel is going to show some scratches. After deciding to use my brain, I figured I could just pry this open and pop the back right off, which is what I should have done from the very beginning, but it's okay. Then I proceeded to remove the ribbon cable off the LCD panel, which is, by the way, taped on, only taped on. So I moved to the other layer of tape just to see exactly how it connected, and it basically just lined up the pins on the ribbon cable onto this with tape. I already tried to look up this product on Google, but I could not find it, but I'm sure it's only a $5 product. So tape is a pretty common theme here. We got tape here, we got tape there. Let's go ahead and remove these ribbon cables by flipping these upwards. I'm glad those weren't taped in. And then this battery was just adhered to the side, but it was just dangling there when I got to it. So they obviously did not think through that. It's actually pretty interesting how there's actually a battery in here. This power button is barely functional. So let's figure out why. Oh, that's why. Because the button was just taped in. More tape. Why? Who thought this was a good idea? I don't know. Now let's remove the motherboard. It's connected to the body by 2 screws. Those 2 screws out, we can pull it right out. But there's a whole bunch of wires dangling from the motherboard, which we need to figure out what's going on. So one of the wires is this mic, which is adhered with what looks to be a gasket material. Very weird, which you can actually see from the outside of the housing. Okay. Yikes. This other one is, I'm thinking, the Bluetooth wire, which was also just taped on with this tape here. And then now we have the speaker, which we need to get rid of this ribbon cable first. That's connected to the camera. And we can pry the sucker right out, which looks very cheap in my opinion, as we'd all expect. This camera is connected to the housing with 4 screws, which is 2 more screws than the motherboard. As I was reading the motherboard, I looked at the battery and noticed that there was a burn mark on the battery. So let's figure out what's going on. However, it seems like the burn mark is only on the outside of the tape, so it's not from the battery. Now I pulled off this makeshift, what seems to be heat sink. I doubt it does much of any great job, but it's there. And here's the motherboard and its computer, the V535. And now let's go ahead and remove that camera. Take out the 4 screws and the sensor can pull right out. This is probably the second most expensive thing on this portable head unit. And it looks pretty good, I think. And now the rest of the housing has 4 more screws, which also just pops right off. Ta-da! Magic. Anyways, I know there's a slim chance, but I just wanted to see if I could put all these ribbon cables back, then connect the ribbon cable to the LCD monitor and plug it in, and see if it works. However, that was very optimistic because I have to literally tape on this ribbon cable. What the heck? Not meant to be repaired, right? And of course it's a little bit ripped up there, but it is what it is. I then plugged in the motherboard, which didn't do anything, but once I connected this battery, I heard the motherboard start making some noises. So I was on to something. However, the LCD panel just would not turn on. Now keep in mind, if I get 100,000 views, I will see if the Carpuride W903 is just as cheap as the Seicane radio. We'll find out, so stay tuned. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and throw out all the rest of these parts because we don't need them.